But one of the things that stuck out to me when I got to Lewisburg, and this is my first stop into the federal system, I was probably on the compound, in the compound for about maybe a month, and a guy got murdered. When I say murdered, and when they took us to trial, you can see the blood still by the mess hall. And people were just worried about, is this going to affect how long we're going to take to eat? Lewisburg Penitentiary. That was my first stop. I was there for about 2 years. I had a disciplinary transfer infraction, got into some beef with, it wasn't even my beef or whatever the case may be. And that's one of the things that I talk about in the book too, is being able to watch out and watch out who you associate yourself with when you're in prison. You know, everybody that you think is cool ain't cool, you know, as far as their behaviors, because you could just be friends with someone and wind up in a situation just because you're friends with that person, because that friend's beef becomes your beef, because that is how you're going to be associated if there is beef. So that's how I wound up getting shipped all the way out to Indiana, because I was hanging out with a couple of dudes. You know, we was eating together and we was hanging out and, you know what I'm saying, working out together and stuff like that. So when one of them got in a beef that we had actually really nothing to do with, it brought all of us into that. So that taught me a valuable lesson about how I interact with people while I was in prison after that incident.
So this interaction landed you into a fight in prison, basically?
Yeah, it landed into a big brawl with, you know, guys from a different state and city against this guys from New York. And, you know, then they wound up shipping everybody out to different locations. And I wound up going to Indiana. So I was in Indiana, Terre Haute, Indiana for about 3 or 4 years. I didn't get no visits.
No visits? I mean, were you in the shoe?
No. I'm from New York.
Oh,
I'm in
too far away, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, my people got to go on vacation just to come see me. So
punishments come in all types of forms. So if you continue to be acting up in prison, they're not just going to put you in the shoe and bring you back out. They're going to take you away from everything to really let you feel the pain and anxiety of your consequences.
Exactly. So I was out there for 3 or 4 years and didn't get no visits. So once I worked my way back to the East Coast, you know, I made sure that I was very careful who I interacted with when I got back to, because I'm from Terre Haute, I went to Allenwood Penitentiary. So Lewisburg Penitentiary, Terre Haute Penitentiary, then I went to Allenwood Penitentiary. So by the time I went to Allenwood, I was probably about 6-7 years into my sentence. So I pretty much had everything, all the lessons that I needed to learn, I pretty much had already mastered all of those lessons. So I wasn't.
How old were you, Randy? How old were you at this point?
Man, when I went in, I was 27. When I got to Allenwood, I was probably about 32, 33. I don't know.
Being you're at these higher security level prisons, which a lot of the people watching this channel are probably never going to see, I'm imagining you witnessed quite a bit of violence. Were you prepared for the type of violence that you would see in these security levels?
No, I wasn't, to be honest with you. And I mean, I've seen some violent things on the street, and I've been involved in, you know, part of my life entailed being violent when you had to be in that type of life. But one of the things that stuck out to me when I got to Lewisburg, and this was my first stop into the federal system, I was probably on the compound, in the compound for about maybe a month, and a guy got murdered. When I say murdered, he got murdered in front of the child home. And I mean, that was a rude awakening as far as how dangerous this place was.
What was he murdered over?
It was some gang activity. It was a Mexican, some type of gang thing going on. But he wasn't, I mean, that was just one of the murders that happened there over the years prior to me being there, not being there, whatever the case may be. But this is the first time now that I'm here that actually I'm in the mix of a place where, anything can happen. It's so volatile. That's one place, to be totally honest with you, that you always hear this saying that the tension is so thick that you can cut it with a knife. I'm honestly can tell you, I know how that feels. That you wake up and you can feel the tension. You know something is going to happen, but you just don't know who, where it's directed, and you just hope it's not coming your way, and you try to prepare yourself for it. But what stuck out to me the most was how nonchalant people were about this murder. I'm trying to be cool about it, like, I'm not, but I'm saying, wow, this dude got killed. Like, he got, and when they took us to trial, you can see the blood still by the mess hall. And people were just worried about, is this going to affect how long we're going to take to eat? And they want to go eat, and they mad because this slowed down the chow hall run. And I'm like, man, I don't even have an appetite now.
So this happens so often that people's biggest concern was, how long is this going to take to clean up before we can go eat?
Yes. And wow. That's when I knew that I was in a dangerous place.
So I imagine every time you went anywhere, like a shower, you'd have somebody outside the shower kind of.
Well, I mean, luckily at that point, like I said, prior to me getting shipped out and getting to that beef, I had pretty much,
separated.
Linked up with a couple of people that knew me from the street and things of that nature, knew my reputation. We all knew each other. So, we pretty much had each other's back right then. So I was pretty much okay. But even friends, today's friend can be tomorrow's enemy in situations like that.
At what point did you start changing, not just changing your attitude, but I imagine going from dealing in the type of lifestyle you were in and the type of people that you would typically associate with, there must have been a segue where you stopped associating with those type of people and started associating with more like-minded people that maybe you took on as mentors that helped you prepare your mind and clear your mind. How did you make that transition in such a violent environment?
Well, I mean, I think it was more like me looking at my own life and coming to grips with the decisions that I had made that got me incarcerated, and knowing what impact that my incarceration was having on my mother, not being there to be a father for my kids. I had a brother who passed away, my father passed away. So it was a slow chipping away of all of the things that I had pretty much bought into with this lifestyle that started slipping away as I seen the damage that I had done, not only to myself, to my family, to my community, that really made me start looking at my life a lot differently, slowly but surely. And then looking at the situation, and a lot of times just stepping back and just observing where I was and the people that I was around, and seeing how this incarceration was impacting other people that were in there. Guys were fighting over cigarettes. Guys were willing to kill each other over a word or a sense of feeling of disrespect. It was such a crazy environment that if you didn't take time to really realize where you were, you can get lost in that situation. And the reason why I say get lost in it, because, as you go to the day room, you got several TVs and people can watch TV when they have time or whatever. You would have guys that would literally say, this is my spot that I put my chair in, and I don't want nobody else sitting in that spot. And they would be willing to kill you, cut you, fight you if they found someone else sitting where they staked off their claim of real estate. And that's what they called it, real estate. It's like, yo, are you serious? Are you serious? You want to cut somebody because they put your chair, or they sat in where you sat at for child because they sat in your seat? That's your seat?
What do you think causes that? Do you think it's the mentality of how long some people have been down, that that's having something? Is it a control? Because I saw that even in the low, even in the low security, that was a big thing in the TV room. Everybody had their spots, and if you sat in somebody's spot without permission, it was a big deal.
Yeah, I think people are trying to still claim something for themselves, and still feeling they have control over something. And I think that little something gives them a sense of saying, this is mine and nobody can take it from me and I'm willing to fight for it. And I'm like, dude, it's not that serious, man. You know what I'm saying? So I looked at all of those things and I tried to do the opposite and not get caught up in behaving in a certain kind of way just because I was incarcerated.
So how long were you into your 15-year sentence when your mind started to flip to where you were identifying these dangerous situations and thought processes that were only enabling the negative activity? How long did it take you to get that message into your own brain?
I think I'm probably about a third into my sentence. I started slowly looking at, all of this craziness that was going on around me and not trying to allow myself to get caught up in it. I mean, you have your days, you struggle sometimes, and, but overall, like, fighting over a microwave or, claiming, and one of the things that I talk about in my book is I didn't never want to make this a reality for me. I never wanted to make prison a reality for me. I always knew that there was something better and different for me, and I just knew that if I just stayed or tried to reclaim who I was prior to me getting caught up in all of this madness, that if I can reclaim that person, then I had a shot on being a better person overall. So, I talk about being institutionalized and how a lot of times people become institutionalized while they're incarcerated. And it's serious that people allow themselves to get institutionalized.
Well, you clearly do not seem institutionalized. And do you feel that you are institutionalized?
Was I institutionalized?
Because to me, I would never know unless you told me.
No. I don't never consider myself being institutionalized.
That's
no
what
way.
I'm saying. So you think it's a mindset, right?
Yeah, I fought that because everything that I associated with a person and their institutional behavior, I made a note to myself not to succumb to those type of behaviors.
Let me ask you a question, Randy. Do you think when you see people do that, because obviously, I was only there 13 months. However, I met a lot of guys that were down for a while. I met a lot of guys in the halfway house that used a lot of self-defeating thoughts, like playing the victim role, using the fact that they were in prison, using the fact that, they never had formal education, using the fact that they never really held a real job. They used all of these reasons, all of these excuses as reasons to not really try harder. Do you feel like the institutional mindset is kind of an excuse to not really have to try and make yourself uncomfortable to do things you're not used to?
Part of it, yeah, of course. Part of it is because, one of the hardest behaviors as human beings is to really take an honest look at ourselves and admit that we need to make some changes, that we're doing things differently. Anytime that you accept this situation as normal, there's something not normal about you. For instance, I give an example. When they call child, you have people literally, and I used to call it like almost like a dog race or something like that, where they line up at the gate or the door of the unit, and when they call child for that unit, they're doing the madman dash to the child. And I'm saying, this is insane. And they're walking almost to the point that they're running to the child hall.
Because you're not allowed to run on the compound, so you got these people doing this massive speed walk.
Yes. And I'm saying, like, yo, and those are the things. I'm not doing that. I'll get there. I'm going to walk at a regular pace. I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna eat, and I'm gonna do what I do. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing that. I'm not doing things that are just not normal.
I think this is for anybody, because like I said, I was at a low security and I witnessed and this isn't something I've ever even spoke about before on my channel, because I've caught myself doing that before, just for fun with a group of guys. Like, we'd walk to get there first, to get out to the yard first, go eat and get out to the yard before they close the gate. But as you explain it, this is something that somebody that's watching this right now, that's getting ready to go in for a short period of time, if you're really trying to change your behaviors and your habits, you've got to fight every impulse and every urge. Yes. And that is absolutely one of them that I never identified until you brought it up right now. So that's some great insight right there, Randy.
No, it's deep.
Who was your mentor? Did you have mentors in there that you throughout prisons?
I didn't have any mentors.
Nobody, because I know you met some influential people in prison.
Yeah, I met some good people, but nobody I can say that mentored me. It was more me doing some internal reflecting, soul searching, and if I had to attribute a lot of my change and wanting to do better, that I had to attribute to my mother, and wanted to show my mother that she didn't raise me to be someone who would spend all of their life caught up, not only physically incarcerated, but mentally incarcerated. Because you got a lot of people that are locked up here way before they even get to prison.
Absolutely. I bet your mother never gets sick of hearing this story.
Nah, that's my number one fan right there, man.
So tell me, this book, you wrote this book while you were in prison, correct?
I started that book like probably 2 years before I got out. Changin Your Game Plan.
How did you start writing? 'Cause, I mean, is there a computer system you're able to jump on and start typing?
No, man. That took a lot of handwriting, those yellow pads and, the commissary pads. I mean, that took a lot of writing. That book started out as a series of letters that I was writing to my brother, who had just got incarcerated, and he was facing 10 years in federal prison. So while he was in the county jail, we had got permission for us to write each other, and I was writing him, and I was telling him what to look out for once he gets into the federal system, how to use his time productively, how to get something out of the time and not get caught up in the frivolousness that goes on in prison. I don't care because I made it to a low. I never made it to a camp, but I made it from a penitentiary to a medium to a low. But all of the frivolousness is in the penitentiary. All of the frivolousness is in the mediums. All of the frivolousness is in the lows. Gossiping. I've never seen so many men in one place who gossip and talk about each other, and it's just nonsense. So I'm trying to show him, teach him how to avoid getting caught up in all of that stuff. So once I realized, like, this is a lesson that a lot of people need. This is something that a lot of people need, and that's how it actually came into me writing the book about my personal journey from the lifestyle that I lived that got me incarcerated to the mindset that would free me from incarceration mentally before I even got out physically. So Changing Your Game Plan, how I used incarceration as a stepping stone for success, is about my life, it's about my experiences, it's about overcoming adversity, it's about the challenge to change, how I took a negative situation and turned it into a positive opportunity.
I mean, and CJ and I both, we both read through this book, obviously because we knew you were coming on the show for one, and we get books sent to us all the time, and a lot of times you read some of these books, and really it's this glorifying, almost like I made it through the system, and I had to fight this person. Your book really, this would be a good read, not just for somebody going to prison. This book, anybody that's trying to change your mindset, I feel like this book could offer a lot of value to. Guys, hey CJ, post. We got the link to his Amazon for people that want to pick this book up and give it a shot. It's in the description of his video on YouTube. If you can grab that, post it on the Facebook link, and also post it in the live chat. This, and I mean, and what's the book cost? $14-15, something like that, right?
I've sold over 80,000 copies of that book already.
80, and we're going to talk about that in a second, because that is amazing, guys. So you got out of prison how many years ago?
I got out 13 years ago.
13 years ago. When you got out of prison, how long did it take you to get a book deal?
I think like 6 months. 6 months. 6 months it took me to get a book deal.
How did you get a book deal? How did you? So let me ask you this before I get into that. Hold on, real quick. I got to ask. Do you have the original book? Is it like written on a bunch of like different pieces of paper somewhere?
I wish I had the original manuscript, man. But it's been over the years. You know, I don't have the original manuscript. I wish I did.
That would be amazing. I think it would be framed somewhere. But the original manuscript, what was it on? Was it handwritten? Was it on a typewriter?
Typewriter. I used to go to the law library every day, and I used to type. That's where I spent a lot of my time. After I was already pretty much shifted my mindset and had left the old me behind, I used to spend a lot of time in the library, and I used to type up. My first book is actually called Street Talk, The Official Guide to Hip Hop and Urban Slanguage. That's my first book. That's the one I got the book deal for 6 months out of getting out of prison. It's a 700-page dictionary that interprets the whole hip-hop and urban slang language. And it's over 10,000 entries. That took me about 7 years to write. So the second half of my bid, I spent writing that book right there.
This one?
No, Street Talk.
Okay, right. Okay, gotcha.
Street Talk, yeah. And I got out, and pretty much I had, start my life all over again. I had got a minimum wage job working as a messenger in New York. I had these manuscripts that I knew eventually that I would definitely, pursue the publishing aspect of those books, when I got on my feet. So I seen in this newspaper, when I was a messenger, you had to come to the office and then they'd send you out and deliver packages or whatever the case may be. And they had this newspaper there, and I seen an article for the small publishers book free conference or something like that. And I was like, man, I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna see whether or not I can talk to somebody about my book. And when I got there, man, I talked to the people and talked to a couple of publishing companies and showed them what I had, and I walked out of there with a book deal, man.